Testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. What's up, guys? My name is Brad. Welcome back to my channel. This channel is all about optimizing your life. And today we're going to talk about how to get a perfect 850 credit score. Now, I want to say there's actually no reason at all to do this. If you're at 720, 740, 760, that's actually all you need and you'll lock in the best rates. But if you're like me and you want to shoot for the best and you shoot for an 850 credit score, what could happen is you could learn about it, you could obsess about it for a little while. And as a result, even though you may not get an 850, you'll at least understand your score, shoot for the best, and be able to get a higher score. Now, this could have a big impact if you want to take out a loan to buy a car, or if you want to buy a house. If you never need to borrow money because you can just pay cash for that car, that house, then this doesn't really matter to you. But I think this video will apply to most people because a lot of people will be able to save up for something like a down payment and make installments or make monthly payments and then borrow money and pay it off over time. Soon I'll talk about how to optimize your credit cards to get rewards and points. But before you open a credit card, it's probably best if you understand how this is going to affect your credit score. But before we get started, if you like this kind of content, click the like button to support my channel. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more. Let's get started. So like I said, there's really no reason to get an 850 credit score. If you're above a 740 or 760, you're going to get the best interest rates. But if you just find it fun to obsess about these kinds of things like me, then this video will tell you how to do it. Now, your credit score is actually made up of a variety of factors. Those include credit card utilization, payment history, derogatory marks, age of credit history, total accounts, and credit inquiries. For some of these categories, you just want to perform well. You don't want to screw it up. And as long as you're aware of these things, you can make sure that you have good habits and make the right decisions over time. Although there is a little strategy involved for the other categories. There's certain things that you have to do that might have a negative impact on your credit score in the near future, but will have a positive impact in the long run. Now, if you don't know what your score is, there's a lot of different ways to check without affecting your score. Most major banks will allow you to log into their portal, find the credit score section, and check it for free. I actually check it like every day from most of my accounts just to see where I'm at. You don't need to do this as long as you check it every once in a while to know where you're at. Especially if you're going to take out a loan to make a big purchase in the near future, it's probably good to see where you're at, because if you can make a small change to make a difference to your credit score, then that could save you a lot of money in the long run. Now, there's multiple types of credit scores, and all the different banks have their own portals that are just estimating what your credit score might be from those other bureaus. If you log into all your different accounts, you might see different numbers. The equation that's used to find your actual credit score is a bit of a secret, so I don't know exactly what that is. And all the banks that show you your credit scores, they're just doing their best to guess what your credit score is going to be. So look at all of the ones that you have access to and have an idea where you're at. And then you can go from there. Every category that plays a part in your credit score has a different weight. So if you're doing well in one category that has a really high weight, but poor in another, it's not as bad as if you're doing really bad. To get an 850 credit score, you actually have to do perfect in all of those categories. The first category is utilization. If you want an excellent score in utilization, you have to be under 1%. The utilization is calculated at the time that your statement is posted. So if you wait until the end of the month and you pay it off right before that time, then your utilization will be zero for that card. But if you pay it the day after it's due, you'll actually be taxed on what's in your account at that time. And that number will be used to calculate your final credit card utilization. So pay off your credit cards. Here's how you really want to think about it. If you have a $2,000 credit card and at the end of every month you owe $1,000, then your utilization is half of that. You're spending half the money that's in that account. However, if your total available credit is $100,000, and you still spend that $1,000, then your utilization is going to be 1%. So your credit balance divided by the amount of credit that you have available to spend is your utilization. To decrease your utilization, you can either pay off all your cards so that you have less than 1%. Alternatively, you can open more credit cards, make sure you don't put any more money on them, and because the denominator will be greater, your utilization will go down. I'll talk about this more in a later video, but if you're going to be opening more credit cards to get a lower utilization, then it's important that you know that if you have credit cards that are just sitting there doing nothing, there's a chance that the banks could decrease your credit limit or even close the accounts. As long as there's activity, you have a less chance of this happening. I recommend that you take one of your random monthly bills. I have a Google One monthly subscription of $2, and I just send that to one of my credit cards, set it up for auto pay, and then I don't really have to think about it. The card's being used, and I'm not really worried about my bank closing my account. Now, I want to take this opportunity to let you guys know one of the biggest myths that I've heard around credit cards. You don't need to keep a balance on your cards. When you do this, you're paying interest, and there's actually no benefit. If you pay them off in full, then the cards will be used, you won't be paying any interest, and you actually have a little less risk of having irresponsible behavior and forgetting to pay off your credit cards. I actually pay them off every day. It's usually right after I make a purchase. I'll pay for something with a credit card, log into my bank account, and then pay that off from my account. By doing it this way, this prevents me from spending money that I don't have because I'm constantly looking at the amount of money that I have in my debit account and paying off my credit cards. I just want to make sure you heard me. You do not need to keep a balance. If you want to keep a balance, then maybe pay it off by the whole dollar, but you do not need to keep a 30% balance. Bring it down to zero. The next two categories are payment history and derogatory marks. Now, most of the other categories, you can actually start working and fix them pretty quickly, but this is the tough one. If you forget to make a payment and you're late, then this will stay on your credit report for 7 years. Don't miss any payments. The way your credit score is calculated is based on the number of missed payments that you have and the number of total payments that have occurred. So if you have one missed payment and 1 year worth of history, then that's 1 out of 12. But if you have one missed payment and 5 credit cards, then you have 60 payments over that 1 year, and that one missed payment will have a much smaller effect. If you want to score in the excellent category for these, you have to have basically no missed payments and no derogatory marks. Use autopay and don't buy things that you can't afford. The next category is your average credit history. The age of your credit history is based on how long you've had it. So to figure this out, you add up the age of all of your credit cards and divide by the number of cards. This will give you your average. To get an excellent for this category, you have to have an average of 9 or more years. So if you have one card that's 10 years old, you're gonna be scoring excellent. But once you open that next credit card, you have 9 years and then 0 years, and that will average over to 5 years. So it jumps down significantly. Your average age of credit cards has a 15% impact on your credit score. The next category is your total accounts. In order to score a perfect 850, you have to have 21 or more accounts. Now, this one's a little controversial and I haven't been able to find a good source, but from one source I've seen that you need 21 or more accounts, and other sources have told me that you need a good variety of credit types. So that might be credit cards, installment loans, and mortgages. Creditors want to see that you know how to manage different types of debt well. The final category is credit inquiries. If creditors see that you're opening all kinds of different credit accounts, then they're going to see you as reckless. Not only will it result in your credit score being decreased, but it could also result in you getting rejected for a loan. The number of credit inquiries has a 10% impact on your credit score. This one's kind of interesting though, because the inquiries will only stay on your credit report for 2 years and only affect your credit score for 1 year. One difference I want to point out is the difference between hard and soft inquiries. So if a landlord wants to run your credit before you rent out a house, or when you log into your bank accounts and look at your credit score, that's actually just going to be a soft inquiry. They'll use a hard inquiry if you do an actual credit check, if you're going to open up a new credit card or take out a loan. So the last 3 categories, credit history, total accounts, and the number of inquiries, is the place where you need to be a little strategic. You need to decide whether you're trying to improve your credit score in the short term, in the long term, or both. If you wanted to get to 850 as soon as possible, you would just open a new credit card every month. Unless your score drops too low, then you may want to wait. After your 21st card, wait 9 years, you should have a perfect credit score. The only caveat here is if your score drops too low, that could block you from getting a loan. So you have to sort of think of it like a game where you are gonna take hits early on and figure out what's the best way to get the highest credit score at the time that you want it. What I'm doing is I want to buy a house, but I also want to build up my credit score around that. So I plan to open 4 or 5 credit cards every year, and the year I plan to buy a house, hold off. That way a bunch of my inquiries fall off my credit report. My score should go back up. I'll buy my house, my score will go back down again, and then after I make that purchase, I'll wait a little while, start applying for more cards again. When I get to somewhere around 18 or 19, I'll probably stop. This should only take me a couple years. And after 9 years, I should have a really high credit score. So I wanted to show you what my credit score is at today. Right now I have 8 credit cards. 4 of them I opened this year. If I look at my FICO score in American Express, I have a 750. If I look at it in Chase, which is where I have 4 credit cards, I currently have a 780. And if we look at the chart as a table, you can see it's been increasing ever since May. In June, it actually shot up 32 points. I opened a credit card in February, another credit card in March, 2 more credit cards in April. February, March, April. Is that right? Something like that. In Bank of America, I have a 772. You can see it took a small dip in January, February when I was opening a bunch of cards, and it's sort of been hovering around there. And now looking at Relay, you can see it shows I have a 803. It's flagging my average age of credit as the most negative at 2 years and 1 month. And that's because my oldest card is only 7 years old, but you can see that I have one that's 2 months old, 3 months old, 4 months old, 5 months old. So a bunch of recent accounts are pulling down my average, but later, after 4 or 5 years, I'll have a much higher average credit. And at that time, when I open more credit cards, it's not gonna pull my average down as far. I also use Experian to look at my credit score. They have a feature called Boost that allows you to add your recurring utilities. So I'm using my T-Mobile monthly phone bill and my waste management trash bill. And by just adding my already existing payments, it shot my score up like 4 or 5 points. So that's pretty cool. But on Experian, you can see I have a score of 739. Okay, so now you know what you need to do to get an 850 credit score. You need to score excellent in all the categories I mentioned before. I do want to remind you, there really isn't a benefit of having anything above a 760, other than if you want to open more credit cards and you have a higher score, then you'll know it won't pull you below a 760. But once you get up into the 800s, 840, 850, there literally is no benefit. You're not going to get a better rate if you take out a loan on a car or on a house. And once again, be careful if you're going to be opening more credit cards. Only do so if you are very responsible with your funds. Don't spend money that you don't have. If it's fun for you to treat this like a game like I am, go for it. But otherwise, it has potential for causing problems. Let me know down in the comments if you have a 850 credit score, if you want an 850 credit score, or if you have any other questions about how to improve your credit score. Now that we've talked about how to get a good credit score, I feel comfortable talking to you guys about credit cards, so stay tuned for my next video. If you like this content, smash the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, click subscribe. Let me know your feedback in the comments below. I'll leave a link in the comments to my Robinhood account if you want 1 free stock. Thanks for coming, guys, and I'll see you next time.